I want to take a moment to answer this question of, do designers need to learn how to code? Not because it necessarily has anything to do with web development, but anytime I teach this material, this question always comes up. And so I know it's top of mind for a lot of designers out there, and I just want to give my perspective as a engineer and a designer as well. So, speaking from my personal experience, we have what it boils down to is we have a finite amount of time and an infinite amount of stuff to learn. Design as a discipline is huge. We can go so deep on so many different topics. Same thing with software engineering. We can spend an enormous amount of time. Software engineers don't know everything about software engineering, the same way designers don't know everything about design. And so we have to really pick and choose what we think is the most beneficial for our work and what's going to advance our career, and also what are we interested in. Do we really care about this stuff to learn it, or is it something that we just need to have working knowledge of and we can go and do other things? So I want to caveat everything by saying it's up to you to kind of make that decision for yourself. That no one's going to come in here and make that decision for you. But it's always really helpful to kind of step back and remember, I don't have to learn everything. It's okay if I don't know something. I'm going to let my interests and what is relevant to me at a given time sort of drive my learning process. I say all that, and at the same time, as product designers, especially ones who are designing for the web or other digital experiences, we do need to understand the medium in which we're designing. And if we're designing for the web, our medium is code truly. The thing that users experience at the end of the day, it's not a mock-up, it's not a wireframe, it's not an interactive prototype, it's code. It is a coded website or web application. We don't ask carpenters if they need to understand wood, right? Of course they know the difference between pine and mahogany. There's really big differences between the different types of wood you can use, and we should expect some level of familiarity from ourselves as designers for the web as well. What we can get away with, though, is something I like to call technical literacy. And so it means that we don't necessarily have to learn syntax. We don't have to learn how to write code ourselves if we spend the bulk of our efforts learning the big picture stuff. So things like, how does the internet work, or what an API is, or what are coding languages and frameworks, the stuff that we're talking about a lot in this course. You can get really, really far just with that level of understanding. And that's going to be great for the majority of your use cases because you can work with really good developers and have sort of a shared language to have really productive conversations with them. And that can get you really, really far in your career. That's where I certainly started. I learned how to design before I learned engineering. And at the beginning, I wasn't very knowledgeable about programming, but I was technically literate. I could work a file system. I knew what the web was all about. And because I was interested in it, I was passionate about designing and designing for this medium. And so I was consuming as much information as I could about the space. And so I really tried to learn the medium, and that can get you very far. At the same time, investing in learning to code is going to be extremely helpful as well. It has paid tremendous dividends in my own career, just the ability to be able to say, I understand data, I understand data modeling, I understand data relationships, and I can have really productive conversations with developers and also incorporate that understanding into my designs so they're more feasible and more realistic and more likely to have less iteration from a feasibility standpoint as well. So it can make a really, really big difference in your work as well. So I'm not going to say it's not worth the effort, but we need to balance that effort, or at least assess that effort and say, is it the highest impact thing I can be doing right now with my career and with the skills that I want to learn? So I think you're always going to get a return. You're always going to learn something valuable because it's the medium in which we're operating. But if there's something more valuable that you could be learning at this point in time, I'd say go learn that and then come back to code, or just continue to learn it as you're going.